Chancellor Wexler of the Galactic Council stared at the deteriorating status reports, flooding her neural interface, her crystalline exoskeleton dimming with each piece of devastating news. 3 months had passed since Earth's dramatic withdrawal from the Council, and the galaxy was consuming itself in ways no one had predicted. Trade routes have collapsed by 67%, reported economic advisor Threndal, his bioluminescent patches flickering with stress. The hegemony and the collective have resumed their border wars. The Rim territories are reporting complete governmental breakdown. Wexler's mandibles clicked in agitation. When the human delegation had stormed out of the Great Assembly, she had initially felt relief. The humans had always been troublesome, too emotional, too unpredictable, too willing to question established protocols. Their departure should have streamlined operations, made governance more efficient. Instead, it had triggered the greatest crisis in galactic history. The final confrontation had seemed insignificant at the time. The Council had been debating Resource Allocation Protocol 847 CE, a standard measure that would have allowed the Andromedan Mining Consortium expanded rights to extract rare minerals from frontier worlds. Standard procedure: the corporations needed resources, the frontier settlements needed protection. Everyone benefited. This is slavery, with extra steps, Ambassador Dr. James Chen had declared, rising from the human delegation's modest seats. His voice had carried that peculiar human quality that somehow demanded attention despite their species' lack of telepathic abilities. The frontier colonies are developing civilizations with rights to self-determination, Dr. Chen had continued. You're treating sentient beings like inventory to be traded between corporate interests. Council Speaker Morgath had responded with typical hegemony arrogance. Human sentimentality is not relevant to galactic governance. These primitive settlements lack the sophistication to manage their own resources effectively. What happened next had shocked the assembly into silence. Dr. Chen had simply gathered his materials, stood up, and spoken the words that would reshape galactic politics forever. Earth hereby withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. We will no longer participate in this body's systematic exploitation of developing civilizations. Goodbye. The human delegation had filed out without another word, leaving behind stunned silence and what most council members had assumed would be a minor administrative inconvenience. They had been catastrophically wrong. "Show me the Sector 7 incident," Wexler commanded. The holographic display materialized, showing what remained of the Vraxian Kree Peace Summit. 2 weeks after Earth's departure, the ancient enemies had attempted to negotiate a mining rights dispute that had simmered for decades. Without human mediators present, the talks had devolved into accusations, then threats, then open warfare within hours. Both species are now claiming the humans were somehow manipulating their negotiation processes, Threndal explained. They're accusing each other of using human psychological tactics to gain advantages. The irony was lost on most council members, but Wexler was beginning to understand the scope of their miscalculation. For 37 years, humans had served as mediators in virtually every major galactic dispute. Their peculiar ability to understand multiple perspectives simultaneously, their talent for finding compromise solutions that satisfied competing interests, their strange knack for de-escalating conflicts, it had all been taken for granted. The ethereal collective has declared war on the Zephyrian Alliance, reported military coordinator Zentar, his armor-plated form trembling with stress. They're claiming territorial violations that the humans previously managed through some kind of informal communication network. Wexler's optical sensors focus sharply. What communication network? We're not entirely certain. Our analysis suggests the humans had been facilitating back-channel negotiations between conflicting species for decades. Species that officially refused to communicate directly had been talking through human intermediaries. The scope of the disaster was becoming clear. Humans hadn't just been council members, they had been the invisible glue holding galactic civilization together. Their unique psychological makeup had made them natural ambassadors between species that couldn't otherwise coexist. There's worse news, Zentar continued. The economic stability algorithms have completely failed without human input variables. This hit Vexler like a plasma bolt. The economic stability algorithms were the mathematical models that predicted and prevented galactic market crashes. They had operated flawlessly for 4 decades, requiring only minor adjustments and occasional recalibration. Explain. The algorithms incorporated something called human irrationality factors, unpredictable economic behaviors that somehow stabilized market fluctuations. Without human traders, investors, and consumers in the system, the models are producing nonsensical results. Vexler processed this information with growing horror. Markets across the galaxy were collapsing, not because of any external threat, but because human economic behavior had been a stabilizing force that no one had recognized or understood. And the cultural exchange programs? She asked, dreading the answer. Complete breakdown. It turns out that 93% of interspecies cultural events were organized, facilitated, or mediated by humans. The Lumina and the Void Dwellers have declared each other's art forms to be spiritually contaminating. The trade guilds are fragmenting along species lines. The full scope of Earth's withdrawal was becoming clear. Humans hadn't just been participants in galactic civilization, they had been its psychological and social foundation. Their capacity for empathy, their ability to find common ground between radically different worldviews, their talent for making alien cultures understand each other, had been the invisible infrastructure upon which everything else depended. "Sir," Threndal interrupted urgently, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth." The holographic display shifted to show Dr. Chen, now speaking from what appeared to be Earth's Global Defense Command Center. Behind him, through massive viewports, Earth's orbital defense platforms were clearly visible platforms that hadn't existed 3 months earlier. "Chancellor Vexler," Dr. Chen began, his tone formal but not hostile. "We've been monitoring galactic communications. We're aware of the current crisis." Vexler leaned forward. "Dr. Chen, the Council requests Earth's immediate return to—" "No," the simple word cut through her prepared speech. "Earth will not be returning to a council that systematically exploits developing civilizations. However, we're prepared to offer humanitarian assistance to any species requesting help." "Humanitarian assistance?" Dr. Chen's expression softened slightly. "Mediation services, cultural translation, economic advisory support, the things we apparently provided without anyone realizing it." The offer hung in the chamber's recycled atmosphere. Around the galaxy, wars raged between species that had been at peace for decades. Economic systems collapsed daily. Cultural exchanges had devolved into mutual accusations of spiritual warfare. "What are your terms?" Vexler asked quietly. "Simple. The Council dissolves Resource Allocation Protocol 847C and 17 similar measures. Developing civilizations get full rights to self-determination. Corporate exploitation of primitive worlds ends immediately. And humans get equal voting representation proportional to our actual contributions to galactic stability." Vexler's optical sensors dimmed as she calculated the political implications. The corporate interests would resist. The major powers would object to human influence. But the alternative was watching galactic civilization tear itself apart. "I'll need to consult with the full council," she replied. Dr. Chen nodded. "You have 72 hours. After that, we'll start accepting direct requests for assistance from individual species and worlds. The galaxy will stabilize eventually, with or without the Council. As the transmission ended, Wexler stared at the continuing reports of chaos and conflict. In trying to marginalize humanity, the Council had accidentally revealed just how dependent they had become on human nature itself. The galaxy was learning, too late, that some species weren't just members of civilization. They were civilization's beating heart.